Republicans are trying to ban drag in at least 5 states so far, and the anti-drag bills they're proposing are written in a way that's clearly intended to target trans people as well. I originally found out about this on Twitter. A tweet from Alejandra Caraballo caught my eye that reads, 5 states have introduced bills to ban drag. At least 4 of them have used nearly identical language, signifying that they're using a model bill drafted by an anti-trans group. These bills would essentially criminalize trans people under the guise of banning drag. And when I scrolled down the thread, there were links to all the bills from the different states, and of course, one of them was my home state, Arkansas. So that's the one I want to take a closer look at and go over today. Here it is, a bill to classify a drag performance as an adult-oriented business and to add additional location restrictions to an adult-oriented business. Starting with Section 1, this is updating the definition of adult-oriented business to include drag performance. Adult-oriented business means an adult arcade, an adult bookstore or video store, an adult cabaret, an adult live entertainment establishment, an adult motion picture theater, an adult theater, a massage establishment that offers adult services. Isn't that illegal? Like, they're talking about like a happy ending massage. As far as I know, that's illegal, but maybe it's one of those things where like they say it's one thing, but you know what you're really getting. You get a little something extra under the table, literally. I mean, obviously they do something, so that exists within the law already. Interesting. An escort agency, a nude model studio, or a drag performance. So that's what they want to add. So Section 1 is saying we would like to classify drag as sex work. We know that all drag is valid, but did you know that all drag is porn? They really want to say the Jinx Monsoon belting Judy Garland is sex work. I mean, work, but not sex work. But I definitely don't find this surprising at all. Last June, I literally could not log into Twitter without seeing some news story of conservatives freaking out over drag queens. And now we have these bills. So it goes. Republicans get votes by picking on minorities, and when it comes to anything queer related, it's always under the guise of protecting children. So while most drag performances are completely mild, and there are just endless ways to do drag, so many styles, so many types of performances, conservatives will find the most scandalous looking drag performance they possibly can and say, look, this is drag. This is what they want to do to our kids. So then programs like drag queens reading books to kids, or like family pride events that include drag queens, end up getting this huge backlash because conservative outlets promote it as being some sort of predatory act. And then people who either already hate queer people or don't know any better see that and become upset. So that's why I'm really not surprised. Conservatives love to rile people up about stuff and then try to make laws around it. So that's Section 1. All right, Section 2, concerning definitions related to adult-oriented business, is amended to add additional subdivisions to read as follows. So here's the shit. Because now they're having to define drag. 26, drag performance means a performance A, in which one or more performers exhibits a gender identity that is different from the performer's gender assigned at birth, using clothing, makeup, or other accessories that are traditionally worn by members of and are meant to exaggerate the gender identity of the performer's opposite sex. Huh? How does one exaggerate their gender identity? Y'all don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. Wearing something that is meant to exaggerate the gender identity of the performer's opposite sex. You have no idea what you're saying. Like, I get what they're going for, but the wording makes it very clear that they don't know. That's not what that means. So 1 is cross-dressing, but they've written in a way that expressly describes trans people. Well, the first part, obviously, we're not exaggerating our gender identity of our opposite sex, but the reason it sounds so ridiculous is because you shouldn't be legislating this kind of shit. Like, listening to them trying to define drag in legal terms, it feels like it should be satire, but it's somehow real. Okay, so 1, cross-dressing, but also being trans. 2, sings lip syncs, dances, or otherwise performs before an audience of at least 2 persons for entertainment, whether performed for payment or not. So far, based on this, I would not be allowed to do karaoke.
The love was out to get me. That's the way it seems. Disappointment haunted all my dreams.
Alright, let's keep going. B, that is intended to appeal to the prurient interest, which of course we all know prurient means having or encouraging an excessive interest in sexual matters. Oh, here we go. See, here... And oh, God. So that's completely up to interpretation. I'm getting flashbacks of the no kink at Pride debate, where it was argued that being barefoot in public is an act of sexual assault because someone might have a foot fetish and not consent to someone else being barefoot in public. Those are literally the kind of stretches that will be made. Continuing, 27, minor means an individual who is less than 18 years of age. All right. So section 2 is defining drag in an extremely vague way that also includes trans people, that leaves so much up to interpretation. And so that's where this really gets like scary. I mean, it sucked already in the first place. Even if they had a perfect definition of what drag was and this only applied to drag, that's ridiculous. Get that out of here. But for it to also include gender nonconforming people of like any variety, myself included, trans people, hello, it's hitting a little dystopian for me. And now into the final section, section 3, concerning the location of adult-oriented business, is amended to add an additional subsection to read as follows. An adult-oriented business shall not be located on public property or where a minor can view what the adult-oriented business is otherwise offering to the public that qualifies it as an adult-oriented business. So that got worse. Even at surface level, this is just so far over the line and unnecessary. Like, that means no more drag at Pride parades or Pride events at all where anyone under the age of 18 is allowed. Even private businesses, private venues hosting their own events cannot include any sort of drag performance unless they are a strictly 18 and up establishment. So that, coupled with the implications of how vague and weirdly gender and trans specific the language is, like that also applies to just trans people. So the implications of this are just mind-blowing. And on top of everything, I find this bill particularly upsetting because, I come from a small southern town in Arkansas, and my hometown just recently, within the last couple years, started doing Pride. But even then, we weren't approved for a Pride parade, and we also weren't allowed to have it on public property, so Pride was hosted at a private business. And it was at a really cool place, this little inn with a bar and restaurant downstairs and like an outside deck and courtyard area that's fenced in. So it was a great place for it, and last year I was asked to speak, and that was a really big deal for me because I grew up feeling pretty isolated as a queer person in this small town. So to go back home and be like the main speaker at this event where I'm standing up in front of a town that I had previously felt very isolated in, it was a really big deal to me. But anyways, this privately hosted Pride event also included drag shows. And it was so cool because I was literally seeing like queens that I went to high school with who are now doing drag here. Like it was just such a cool moment. And the performances weren't sexual, as they usually aren't, but they were awesome. And I'm sure there were people who were under 18 because this was a Pride event that lasted all day at this venue. And it's like an inn and a restaurant. So there are definitely minors coming through. And with the drag performance being outside within view of where a minor could possibly see, apparently for all of these reasons, like this would not have been allowed to happen. This place wouldn't be allowed to have their drag show, which is just ridiculous. And hell, I might not have even been able to speak there. I think I was wearing a crop top, so that could be interpreted as appealing to prurient interest. But that's, why it's really a bummer, because I feel like it hits so close to home. That event was so monumental, and just the fact that that was even happening in my small town was such a huge deal. This is happening in places where progress is so far behind. Like if you live in a very progressive area, I think you probably really wouldn't even believe like where the more conservative areas are with this stuff. And that's why it's so just extra upsetting, because it has taken us so much to get where we are. And these places that are trying to pass these bills are the ones where people are still fighting just for like the most basic shit. And it's scary as a trans person to have something like this, that it can be so easily misconstrued. And it's really sad for drag performers, because for so many of them, like, that's their life. That's it's the culture. It is their art and their livelihood. And as someone who has watched a lot of drag, the most sexual performance that I have ever witnessed from a drag queen doesn't even compare to shit that I've seen on public transportation. I've seen worse riding the bus than I have at a 21 and up club from drag performers. So like, yeah, obviously this whole bill is ridiculous. And I do want to see who's making this shit, who's writing this shit. Senator G. Stubblefield. God. Oh. Hey. My guy is using his dying breath to try to oppress trans people. Is this his address? What the fuck? That is his address. Okay, I'm gonna blur that, even though apparently it should be public knowledge. I guess that's something that happens if you're a senator. I don't know. But YouTube, I know you're listening. I'm blurring the address, okay? Church affiliation, Baptist. Love that. Oh, we can see what else he's up to. Primary sponsor on a bill to establish a path to restoration of the right to possess a firearm and provide for the discharge, dismissal, and sealing of a felony conviction. Our noble public servant, here to protect children by giving criminals with felony gun charges guns. Oh, okay. Oh, and also scrubbing their records. That's cool. And the other person is Representative Mary Bentley, occupation owner of Bentley Plastics, a plastic cup company. Holy shit. I am stunned by this setting. Okay, she makes plastic cups and bad laws. That's sick. Oh my god. Wait, she's the sponsor on a bill to allow creationism as a theory of how the earth came to exist to be taught in kindergarten through grade 12 classes in public schools? What? Oh, and another to prohibit requiring public school and institution higher education employees from addressing a student by a term that identifies a student as male or female and that is inconsistent with the student's biological sex. Oh my god, these people. I have to stop looking at what these people are doing because I'm losing my mind. If any of you watching this are in Arkansas, please vote. In all elections ever, we gotta cut this shit out. I mean, so yeah, moral of the story is vote. Share this video and share the original tweet thread. And, hopefully someone who can do something about this will see it and do something. That's all we can hope for. But yeah, that's about it, folks. Hope you had a good new year. You might have noticed I've done a bit of rebranding after nearly 20 years of being Partar 400 online. I've finally changed my @ to Skeletai Turner. So you can follow me everywhere at Skeletai Turner. And while you're at it, might as well give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. But even if you don't, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.